this is Dominic, wedding DJ.
And this is Serena, wedding planner.
And together we are the Wedding Duo. We are here to talk all things weddings.
Planning a wedding can be stressful, but we are here to help.
So before you say, that's it, we're going to Vegas, don't go to Vegas.
Let's have some fun.
Join us as we answer your wedding questions and help navigate planning one of the biggest days of your life with the Wedding Duo.
And here we are again for another Wedding Duo podcast.
Here we are, both of us, the Wedding Duo in all of its entirety. I'm in long sleeves today because it appears fall has arrived in Texas.
It really has, and it has been such a relief. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you. It's been so hot here, and we had this conversation that our poor September brides, they were really hoping for a little bit of...
September is more August than it is October.
It has been.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's like, I feel like as we move forward, people are not going to want to get married in September anymore here.
We're deep into October, right? And
and it took that long to get.
It took that long, right? But gosh, this morning we're taking the kids and I still had them in shorts with a sweatshirt because it's going to be 80 by the time they get out. But they were like, oh my God, the drama.
So cold.
It's so cold. I go, you have Texas blood flowing through your veins, child. But
yeah, there's worse things.
There is.
So another thing we should probably talk about is we have had a lot of events these weekends, right? We've been super busy. They've gone great. But for all of you out there that are newly either engaged or at the very end of your journey, like you're getting married very soon.
Weeks away, days away.
Congratulations. We know there are a lot of weddings going on across the world, and we are happy to be part of them through our social media platforms and our podcasts and all that good stuff.
Can I tell you about one?
Of course.
So this past weekend, it was not a wedding. It was a 10-year anniversary celebration, but they didn't get their first big wedding.
So it was like a vow renewal kind of thing.
It was a vow renewal, but it was 10 years. And this was now they had, the means to have a party. It was a Friday the 13th. So they were a little bit goth, I guess. She had a black dress. It was stunning, but they did all the usual things you would do at a wedding. And it was really hard for me because my muscle memory, I kept saying the newlywed. No, they're not.
They're not newlyweds, yeah.
Because 99% of the events that we do, especially I do, are weddings, right? And it was still very wedding. It was very much the same, except they were 10 years in and they had two lovely children, a boy and a girl.
Mm-hmm.
So the bride started normally we do the first dance, then we do bride and dad, right? So she started that dance with her daughter, right?
Right.
And they picked The Best Day by Taylor Swift. For all the Swifties out there, great song if you're going to dance with mom usually. And it was daughter and mom. And the song just really hits, the lyrics hit, and she's out there dancing with her little girl. And then halfway through, I give a nod to dad. Dad comes in, and now you flip it to, now she's the daughter, right? Now the bride went from being mom to then flipping it. Now dad comes out, and then she gets emotional with dad. It was like a 1-2 punch. I was just like, hold it together. But that's the thing, right? With weddings, it's this generational, it's this moment, the snapshot in time. Here's the day. You get, the day, and dad's there looking at daughter. Daughter's there looking at her daughter. I mean, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. So if you're looking forward to all of that.
And the emotional roller coaster.
And the emotional roller coaster that it is, we are right there with you. Mm-hmm. Also, you brought up Taylor Swift. Okay. So we went and saw the Eras movie because we have a 12-year-old daughter, and
we didn't want to take out a second mortgage on the house to go to the concert.
Although, having seen the movie, I probably would have, because that woman is impressive. I mean, I don't even care what you say about her as an artist, like if you like her music necessarily, like her style or whatever it is, she just impresses me.
She is a showwoman.
And a force to be reckoned with in
no question.
A lot of ways. I love that example for young women. And I don't know. I was just impressed.
It is just really hard as an artist to stay relevant, to stay with fresh new music, and just to go over a one-hit wonder, let alone several decades. She's well into her second decade now.
And appealing. Like she stays relatively drama-free, right? Like she has such a great following and audience that just support the hell out of her.
But have you listened to Shake It Off? That is all about her drama.
No, I just mean like her drama like in her actual life, where like a lot of artists or celebrities, they get caught in these like scandals, and it's like they go through these like ups and downs where people hate them and then they love them and they hate them and they love them. And I just feel like she's really tried to maintain.
The Swifties hate everyone that she ends up breaking up with. That's not true. Taylor, the other Taylor. Remember the Taylor and the Taylor was the werewolf?
Oh, yes,
right?
yes.
They dated for a while. The song December whatever is about him.
Supposedly,
apparently.
right? Yeah.
Supposedly. I didn't know we were going off on a
sorry.
T-Swift
I just really
here.
had to like speak to this because it was powerful for me, and I think it's good to see that in the world.
Well, she's just very good. If she does in fact write her own music, which she says she does, she's a great lyricist, right?
My gosh, the story she tells through music is pretty.
It's
impressive.
really good. I mean, it's just I'm always impressed, even if I don't like, which I do like her music, but if I didn't like the music, if you can stick around for multiple decades as the music just changes so rapidly,
well, and build an empire, right? Like, I mean, literally, like a empire of Taylor Swift.
I mean, she's broken records across.
She just broke her movie, like, was number one.
Oh, it was before the movie. When her last album came out, she had, I think, the first time ever, all top 10 of the top 10 songs, like, on the top charts. All 10. I was like, wait. I had to sit down and, like, digest that. I go, wait.
That's a lot.
She broke Beatles records. See, that really hurts. That's the part that I have
Come
a hard time with.
on.
No. Beatles, those records should stand.
There was like less people on the planet then too, so maybe that's it.
Well, there were less. It wasn't. You know what? The social media is the thing, right? She has like streamlined like social media as well. So there's just a different generation that has instant accessibility to everybody. Was at how many times have I seen a TikTok of Taylor diving in the stage? I knew it was coming when we watched the movie.
I didn't know it was coming.
How did you?
I
not
was
know?
so
Good
well
gracious.
because I don't really watch social media. Isn't that weird, you guys? If you're listening, you're going, what are you talking about?
It's not true. She does. But
no, I do it for business. Like, I am on there creating content for us, but I'm so overwhelmed by all of that for me in my free time, I don't want to look at the phone. Like, I don't want to look at the social media because that's what I do.
Have we mentioned what our topic is for today?
No.
Should I?
Because
you always didn't mention it. Today, we are talking about, well, I started saying, let's talk about tables. Let's talk about all the different things with tables.
And I was like, tables?
And you were like, tables? I go, yeah, because there's a lot you can do with tables. But I meant beyond that, just like centerpieces and linens and all that, different styles of tables. Rentals. Serena said, let's bump it up to rentals. And I go, okay, well, that's more of a...
Well, and because...
But that's a big topic, too.
It is, because a lot of couples, families, parents are involved. You guys are trying to make the decisions like, should we do this ourselves or should we rent these items? And there's a lot of items on that list. Or
you love a vendor, let's say, for example, caterers, and you go, oh, my caterers are really good. The food is delicious, but they don't have the upgraded, fancy, whatever, cutlery, glassware.
You have a look.
Chargers.
Right?
So this is, I wrote down this list. Are you ready for this? Here's the list of what people often rent if you go through a renting. Ready? Tables, chairs, chargers, plates, cutlery, glassware, linens, decor, a lounge area, centerpieces, all the trinkets that come with it, an arch for your ceremony.
He said trinkets.
Fake flowers, heaters, stage, lighting, pipe and drape, bridesmaids. You can rent a bridesmaid, apparently.
But he said
your dress. You can rent your dress, but that's not all the same spot.
Can we go back to you saying trinkets? Because we had this conversation. Yeah. He wrote down trinkets, and I was like, a trinket reminds me of like a souvenir that you get when you went and visited like a...
Yeah, well, okay. Tchotchke, is that what they call it?
That too.
No, but
I feel like it's not
to
the
me,
right
a trinket is like, there will be, if you go, so there's different rental. There's not all rental companies are the same. There are places that just do specialty items. You can rent like old school furniture if you want that little lounge area.
Vintage area, yeah.
But then there's the warehouse event rental companies. They have the giant trucks and they have a warehouse. You walk through, there's just a whole room dedicated just to linens. Right? And all the colors and all the textures and all the different styles you can go that direction.
So what would a trinket be?
A trinket is you have that other shelf of different lanterns. You've got the
That's
slice.
A lantern.
You've got a slice of a tree that goes in the middle. Like the tree, it's like a giant coaster, right? The tree, what is it?
The wood like platform?
Yeah, it's like a wood, but it's a section of a tree, basically.
Centerpiece.
It's like a big thing. And that's part of the centerpieces. But centerpieces, people think flowers, maybe but you could do mirrors. Some people do the little round mirrors, right? There's so many things, and you go down that rabbit hole. Oh my gosh, your centerpiece can be just like right. It's a trinket. There's lots of trinkets you can do things. light up things, little twinkly lights.
That's a twinkly light.
It's a twinkle trinket. There we go.
It's a twinkle trinket. Oh my gosh.
So you don't need to rent all that stuff, but if
No,
you're looking for
absolutely
something,
not.
right?
No, and there are the bigger items that we touched on, like the tables, chairs, lounge furniture.
Mhm.
Some people will bring in backdrops or pipe and drape, like you mentioned. And then there are your smaller details, like your cutlery, chargers for your
Mhm.
tables, centerpieces. This past weekend before, we had the bride rented floral. Okay, and this is becoming more popular. Fake floral, right? And she actually went and picked it up a few days before, so the week of her wedding. It all came arranged already, right? And in boxes. And then at the end of the night, we had to rebox everything, and she was going to drop, or someone was going to drop it off for her. So there are some really ups and downs to that, right? Like pros and cons. You are going to save money in the way she did that, right? And I will say, because it was kind of a boutique like rental place, the floral looked really good. Like sometimes I see.
I wasn't with you on this one, right?
Yes, you were.
Which one was this? No, I don't remember.
This was out in the country. Remember?
There's been too many events. October, there's too many events this time of year in the fall.
We just worked together. You were out on the stage, outside, and then we had dinner inside.
No, but that's 3 events ago for me. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
I have one Wednesday this week, and then 2 this coming weekend. We're together this weekend again, though.
Absolutely.
On Sunday.
So I guess the point was that you can get faux floral that sometimes you can really tell it's faux floral. And this looked amazing. Like when we fluffed it up, it looked good.
And the altar as well. There was an arch out there.
There was it.
Yeah.
But let's go to the other side of this, right? The hassle factor. Okay. Someone had to pick up these big boxes. Then they get to the venue, and I was helping, but there was a lot of family. So, the groom was up on a ladder putting the arch piece together,
Chicken wire, pliers,
we've got
zip ties. It's a whole thing.
So if you are okay with that, and the goal is to save money, definitely go that route. Just know what you're getting into. And then the last part of that I'll mention is at the end of the night, right? It's not the same as the company comes in, they clean everything up for you. It's gone. You don't even have to worry about it. You literally are taking
they pack it, stack it, and haul it out.
Yeah, we were taking these items, boxing them back up, making sure they went in the right box, everything, so she could take them the next day. And that's a lot of work for and we've mentioned this before, for your family and friends or whoever you're designating to do that.
And let's just talk about the floral stuff. And we're going to do a podcast on floral. It's on our to-do list for sure. We have a friend that we want to get on our podcast. But the florist company, sometimes you'll hire them. They'll bring in the fresh flowers, but they do all that. They have the ladders. They have a team. They come in. They'll put it down the railing on the big staircase. They'll put it on the altar.
You won't even know it's happening.
Oh, yeah. And they're in, and then they come back at the end of the night. We always see the floral team come back in. They're sleepy because they went home for 6 hours and had to come back. And I'm like, I've been here the whole time. Yep. But anyway, that's a whole another thing. And you got to look at like, what do you want? What's your vision? What is it going to cost to have somebody else do it versus us do it? And then who's going to do it? Right. Because that's the whole thing. But let's differentiate here real quick on the rental place. I didn't even mention like a tent. Some people rent a tent, but that's usually a tent company. If you're doing stage lighting, pipe and drape, there's usually that's like a lighting company. And there's companies that have giant warehouses of all kinds of stuff there too. And they come in with a team and a giant truck as well. But the event rental place, that's the other stuff that we usually see, right? Linens, tables, chairs, all the stuff for eating.
Yeah.
I should put it in one big eating category. Is that a thing?
And I love to chat about linens for a second, because this is something that sometimes gets overlooked. Where are you getting your linens, and, who's responsible for that as well? So if you have a venue that offers linens, I'm usually on board 9 times out of 10 for you to get the linens through the venue. And here's my reasoning for this. The linens have to be set up before anything else can go on the table. Okay. So even if you rent linens or buy your own linens, I've had couples buy their own linens. Someone has to be there putting them out on the tables early in the morning in order for everything else to get put on afterwards, right?
before your aunties set the centerpieces, before the
Yeah.
caterer sets the plates, before
it's a
the
very
florist sets the flowers. It's
early part of the day. And so if the venue's taking care of that, they're obviously the ones there. If they have the tables and chairs, they're also putting those linens on. So it can be a really just a time saver, easy way to know that that's getting taken care
There's
of.
nothing worse than a vendor shows up and they're just standing waiting for the next. That's really hard.
You mean their time is not being utilized?
Well, or it's just putting you behind. Like, okay, caterers will be here then, but it's like, but where are the linen? Like, if the linens aren't there,
nothing can happen.
Nothing can happen. Here you go. Are you ready for this? This is going to get you worked up. What if the linens don't fit the table?
Yeah. So that's
a
huge
too
factor.
short. Oh my gosh.
And you guys, you want to ask this question. What size tables am I getting? And then you need to figure out what size linens do I need for that table. All linens are not created equal. The other thing is, if you are purchasing linens, you say, okay, I'm going to save some money. I'm going to order off Amazon or off of wherever. They're going to come packaged. And what does that mean? They're going to have creases,
lines and creases
and wrinkles. And it is sometimes very difficult to get those out. I'm talking, you're going to spend hours steaming those linens so that they look nice.
It's a big ask for the steamers too, because I've seen people in the back like, it's not coming out. They're steaming there. No one has an iron, but you're afraid to iron it because you want to like.
Yes, linens take a while to look clean and crisp. So that is something sometimes, I've in my many years ago, I can remember being given a box full of just folded linens, and I was like, oh no, like
it's like a new shirt.
I mean, so that's where I learned that lesson, because I was like, this isn't going to look good when I take these out day of.
When I see a dude wearing a shirt that he didn't iron or hasn't been dry cleaned, and it's got the squares, and I'm like, no.
That's what you're looking at, or worse, because sometimes they get crinkled up
iron
too.
That stuff. Yeah. Oh, well. I'm sure I've done it way when I was younger and I walked around and the pins in my back. Why is it poking me? Like, you didn't take the pin. There's pins. Never mind.
Are you talking about the shirt or the linens?
See, this is why I told you. We could talk just about tables. I'm telling you, we could have talked an hour about just tables and linens and all that stuff. But we're having a bigger conversation. So there we go. But you looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, you know how much we can talk about just tables?
I didn't know what you meant, tables. I was like,
chairs.
Tables.
Good Lord, the brides and you brides and your chairs. Oh my God.
But this is another thing.
The chair. Oh, I know, because the venue will have something they offer, most of them, right?
Right.
And if it's not your vision, you can bring in some other chairs, but it's a thing. It can be expensive, but
it is absolutely expensive. This is absolutely on my list of extras, right? If you are going to upgrade your chairs, this is an extra. Because
it'll hit your budget hard.
It will.
Right square in the teeth.
Per chair, plus delivery, plus setup, tear down, all that, right? So it's a huge...
The Chiavari.
No, and I'm not saying don't do it. Just know that is, going to be an added cost.
Well, when we were in Colorado together, the chairs were there, and they were nice chairs, but each chair had a cover on it. And they were stacked 10 high.
Yeah.
And they were just there. And we were there with the family, bringing every chair out, taking the cover off. And once you take off 100 chairs, that's a big pile of
they
covers.
Didn't have chair cover. I was like, they didn't have chair cover. You meant they were covered
for storage. They had, each chair has its custom cover to make it look nice, and so it doesn't just get beat up.
Right, but they didn't have staff to actually do that.
We were doing that. And that's a big,
that,
and then there's this massive pile of chair covers
that we had to find a place for.
Stuffed back in this thing, so it's a whole thing. There's just a lot that goes into the chairs. And then sometimes you're going to get chairs for the ceremony and for the reception, or you're going to have them moved, or that's a lot of chairs. It might just be one for everybody. It could be two for everybody.
And we don't recommend necessarily moving the chairs, because sometimes I've had people come to me and say, well, we're just going to move the ceremony chairs to the reception. Okay, who's doing this? And remember, we have a short amount of time to do so. And if you say to me, oh, well, my cousins and friends will help. No, okay, maybe some, but it's really not. It's very clunky.
Yeah, but that I will push back and say that is easier than the end of the night. The end of the night, people have left. People are drunk. People that said they would help are now passed out in the groom suite. I mean, it's not because I can get on the mic and say, because usually what happens is you have to flip the room. It's raining outside. We had to do the ceremony inside. There weren't chairs. So we took all the chairs from the tables. We set them up theater style on the dance floor, something like that. It's like, what are we going to do? And then at the end, I say, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't mind grabbing the chair, sliding it back to your, people are like, okay, it's like 10 minutes of and everybody's there. Everybody's sober. That's not as hard as, oh no, The bride is in her dress stacking chairs. Ugh, we've
we've
seen it.
talked about
We have
that
seen
before.
it. But
I get you. And sometimes, just to touch on the flipping of the room, I usually recommend that and sometimes this is a necessity at the venue, that you don't set out all the chairs, right? Sometimes guests can sit at the tables that are already set.
I hate that.
I know, but
I just hate
the
it.
reason the reason you hate that is because you don't maybe grasp the work involved, that we already have to set those tables. They have to be ready. There's no way to, in an hour, put linens.
No, I'm not saying anything about the tables. People have moved tables too. That's really hard too. Moving tables. But I'm talking about chairs. Like, just you had to pull the chairs from the tables, put them on a dance floor in theater style. I mean, it's not ideal, but it usually is like, it's just some reason we couldn't be outside. We had to flip the room.
Right. It's never usually a plan A, right? That's usually a plan B, unless it's a smaller guest count and it works. So some other things that you can rent that sometimes can really, you can save some money on these types of things, and they make a big difference, are like your chargers. They change the way a table looks pretty dramatically.
Oh, and they really do. They really are.
And if you don't know, a charger is like a decorative plate that goes under the dinner plate.
It's the plate for the plate.
It's a plate for the
I
plate.
can tell you how many times I've seen my gender usually in line. I go, no.
You don't
put
eat
that
off
back.
the
That's
charger.
not the plate.
Yeah,
like, look how big this is. Yes, it's very big. It's not. Don't go through the buffet with the charger.
Now, to that point too, I have had.
There's people laughing out there right now saying like, "Oh my god, my uncle did that."
Would eat off the charger. I've had couples get chargers from the dollar store, so you can imagine that's pretty cost effective, right? You just get a simple gold charger, but again, crates. This is what we're talking about here. Someone's lugging crates of chargers into the reception space. We got to set them out. Then here's the kicker. They get dirty, so they get food on them, even though you're not supposed to eat directly on them. But we're stacking those back into the crates at the end of the night. Then you've got to haul those off. So there's that piece too.
Well, that kind of leads me into one of the major bullet points. I only have 4. What do people rent? Why? We can talk about more. Usually it's why, like we said, different look, or if you're doing a backyard.
Right, and you have
not in a traditional venue, or just you don't like the chairs they have, or whatever, or you want to bring in some different tables. Where can you find them, of course? And then the last big bullet comment: pick up and drop off. Mm-hmm. This is another thing, because sometimes you rented some stuff. Maybe you ask the caterers, "I don't like your plates," and they go, "Okay, we'll rent some that can be on your invoice." They'll maybe pick them up, they'll bring them, they'll clean them up, and take them home, and stack them up at the end. But if you have furniture and they say, "We're going to drop off on Friday, your event's Saturday, we'll pick up on Sunday," you may not be able to do that, because if your venue is a busy venue and a busy time of year, they may have an event on Friday and Sunday, and you're the Saturday event. You may have to pay extra to have them drop off that morning and then pick it up at 1 a.m. or something, right?
Well, that can happen. It is a thing. If you have a planner or a coordinator like myself, we orchestrate all that. So we would be talking to the rental company and saying, "Hey, you can only get in between these hours, and we can only pick up between these hours. Is there an additional charge, or isn't that included in your normal route?" Right? So that's something we can help guide you on. But if you don't have that person, then like you said, it's definitely something you want to ask about.
But some stuff like a tent, oh my God, that doesn't go up the morning of. The tent is usually a weekend thing, and it's great if it's on private property. But if you're on a golf course and or something like that,
yes,
you better make sure you have the green light to bring in that tent the day before. Something else that I mentioned real quick at the list at the beginning, but heaters, those stand-up propane heaters, they're not ugly, but those are something people rent all the time. They go, "Oh."
Or here they do those big swamp cooler thingies.
Oh, those are awful. Those are loud. They're an eyesore. They look terrible. They're just loud. I hate those. But the heaters are like, you're an open air venue, but it's a chance it could be cold. Like those really, you can roll them in. Those can be dropped off too. Those are a very common thing to be rented.
Absolutely.
I was happy I remembered that on the list. I go, "Ooh, heaters, put that on the list."
Yeah. If you're worried about, having space for people to get warm, that can be definitely helpful.
I used it to my advantage. I'm like, the warmest place for you all to get on the dance floor and bounce around huddled up like like cattle. That's the warmest place. And they're like, "I'm going on the dance floor to warm up." Yeah,
absolutely. But I think the biggest decision for couples and, anyone planning their event is that hassle factor, right? Like, how much extra time and effort do you want to spend if you're going to DIY some of this stuff, or are you willing to pay for it and bring it in, right? And this goes with every podcast we do. It's like you're balancing the budget and
your vision,
right?
Those
like
are your parameters. You're
where
trying to
can we
navigate
cut
between
corners?
those. Yeah.
That is okay with us, because there's going to be some things that you guys like aren't okay with, meaning they're really important to you, right? Like, this is really important to me. I want to have the beer donkeys. Like, that has been my dream. I've always wanted beer donkeys at my wedding.
Beer burros, they're actually referred to, but
I said donkeys just so most people know what I'm talking about. Because when I came to Texas, I don't know that I knew burro.
Oh, we've had weird things with llamas. Alpacas. We had the alpacas, but that was more of a photo op. They didn't carry liquor, but the donkeys do. They have a little saddle, and they've got
sometimes they have wine,
booze. Yeah, it's a weird thing. And again, they're photo ops as well.
Right. So if that's always kind of what we preach, is that, you need to find those things that are meaningful to you, that maybe you spend a little more on, so that you make sure that that piece of the event really is what you want. And then there's parts where you're like, meh, I'm okay with what the venue already has, or doing this part myself. So that's definitely a conversation you guys can have amongst yourselves.
We have a company in town that does the swanky vintage furniture, and they set up like a little corner somewhere where people can just sit and talk. It's got a little coffee table, a rug. Sometimes they'll have a fancy rug they put down, and a couple chairs and maybe a love seat. It's a great photo op for the couple.
Is.
It's really like you get a glass of wine, you sit down in your dress, and your then husband or your spouse is in their tuxedo leaning in. I mean, you get this really cool, the Roaring 20s kind of a vibe in that little conversation corner. That's really swanky as well. And that same company has brought in, I've seen them bring in like stained glass, like you hang stained glass. That kind of looks cool, either on a table somewhere or something, and like a giant door. So I always talk about open the doors right here. When the song hits the thing, and you go, ceremony. Oh, we're out in the field. It's outside. There's no doors. You can get doors. You can bring out literally a framed, just the doors. And I always do that. The dad joke. I'm like, ooh, it's cold. Let me shut the door.
A dad joke? Who would have thought?
That's the first thing I think. When I see one of the doors, I go, I'm going to do there's a breeze. Let me shut the door. Yeah. Oh, it's classic. That's
hysterical.
It's my finest hour when I see the doors.
It's so excited.
Standalone doors.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, and the other things for the ceremony that sometimes get rented are the arch, right? So but then I'm gonna have this conversation again. Some people are like, oh, my brother is woodworker, and they're gonna make the arch, which great. Okay, that's great. Maybe you're gonna put it in your garden afterwards. That's lovely. But keep in mind that thing has to leave at the end of the night.
Oh, no, that thing doesn't have to leave. Here's what I thought you were going. That thing has to stand up and support the flowers. I can't tell you how many times.
I'm assuming it's built well.
I've seen some really cheapy ones, and the frame of the bottom is either non-existent or it doesn't hold. Yes. The flowers can't go up, and then it's going to fall over. Yep. And now we've got chicken wire going from branches, or string, and people try to get creative, but I'm like, or just doesn't. It just flat out doesn't work. I mean, because that it doesn't have to be an arch. I've seen octagonal things. I've seen different shaped things.
Right, the piece that goes behind the couple.
Yeah, that usually has floral, and that floral can get heavy.
Yeah, and so that is something to keep in mind. If you think you're going to get this little flimsy, plywood piece, that really probably isn't going to cut it. So then, to my point, it has to be pretty heavy duty. Mm-hmm. And we had one recently where there were probably 8 guys moving this arch at midnight.
Seen that many times also.
In half a suit, right? And they had to back the truck up, right? So, I mean,
half a suit.
They were in half a suit. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just painting the picture for y'all. That is what happens.
And it's just always, these are all just kind of like, we try to give you the potential pitfalls that we've come across where we're like, and you start to sit there happening like, I'm just going to walk away and let them argue about how they're going to put this thing out because I don't know how to, I'm like, that's why you should have, thought about that. But it can be a thing that you look back and in hindsight's 2020, right? Well, we're giving you all the hindsight we've seen.
Right. And these are just for you to have the conversations because maybe you're okay with that. Maybe your group of guys and they're going to help, right? So, just be aware that alcohol gets involved too. And then they're not as helpful. They're not as helpful.
Or the person that said they were going to help, their kids got fussy and they were like, we're out of here.
Well, and that's the thing I talk through with my couples too, that I've learned over the years. we are going to have a conversation about who is helping me at the end of the night. And we're going to go a step further. And I'm going to say, okay, guys, I know who's helping. Does this person know they're helping?
Have you told them?
Have you told them? Because I have had experiences where I go up to the maid of honor at the end and I'm like, okay, the bride said you were my go-to. We're loading your car. And she's like, I am? No, I'm not. Like I was not told
brought the
this.
motorcycle. You're like,
yeah.
oh,
and
you
so
brought your motorcycle.
Through experience, I have learned that needs to get communicated. Whoever is going to be your go-to, even if you have a planner like myself, I'm not taking the stuff home. So I need to have a vehicle to load those items into. I need to have a point of contact and they need to know and be aware.
Oh, don't get me started on that. How many times have I walked up to the best man saying, okay, so you're giving your toast here after dinner. He's like, what am I doing? Like, you're the best man. You did not know. But I mean, or, oh, Uncle Charlie's doing the blessing. Does Uncle Charlie know he's doing? No, he does not. So I always kind of catch people early, but that's a whole different thing. Somebody can make some notes on a napkin before giving the blessing as opposed to, I drove my Volkswagen Beetle. I'm not putting anything in my car.
It's along the same lines of just don't assume, right? Like,
well, there's a lot going on. There's so many moving parts that people forget. Like, oh my God, I never asked Uncle Charlie. If
right, but this is important. Like,
this is not a little thing. No, this is a big thing.
Because your stuff will either get thrown out or taken where you don't want it to go. It just becomes really kind of a downer at the end. So, good communication with your family and friends is
what's kind of cool too is if you are looking at like a rental company and they say we rent everything and they go, well, I mean, we've toured these places, right? We've gone in with couples and we've toured and looked at linens and looked at trinkets. Thank you very much. Centerpiece things. But
there's a little Mickey Mouse bobblehead. That's what I picture. Like,
no, not just stuff. Little things that can you add to your centerpieces,
or like those
mirrors,
gem rocks, like a crystal. That you get.
We're not playing. It's not a Pokemon theme. What are you like
a geography?
No. Ask if you can come through and just look at what they have because you might go through and be like, oh, look at those cool lanterns. That is really cool. And you put a little fake candle in there or real candle, and you're like, oh, that's the look that we have these farm tables. Those would look great, right? Because you don't really know. You can go on Pinterest, of course, and you can Google stuff all day. But if you walk through and you're already getting tables and chairs, you're like, okay, how many of these do you have? They go, we have 17 of those. Like, oh, I need 15. That's perfect. They go, are they free for that weekend? Yes. Put them on the tab. Right?
I wish there were more of those, like warehouse, like you can actually visualize. Because to be honest with you, there aren't as many as there used to be. It used to be much more of a thing where you could go through these showrooms and warehouses and take a look like he's talking about. Now everything's online, and it can be more challenging to get a visual for what you actually want. So what you're doing is you're putting together a Pinterest board and then hoping that piece that you bought off Amazon looks exactly like what you see in the picture.
Or the size it is, or if it's like really cheap and janky and you're like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah. So if it's difficult to find those types of places, we understand because they don't exist as much as they used to.
True.
But
Amazon.
Darn you, Amazon. Yeah, they did a number.
Well,
but I still buy stuff off there.
Right? We're supporting them daily. Halloween costume. We ordered Halloween costumes.
We did. Yeah. Halloween's coming.
Remember our first Halloween together when we were like totally broke? And I'm like, they've got pajamas that have the little cape. You can Velcro the cape.
Did we do that?
You were like, no. You were like, you are not. I'm like, no. Okay, we're not doing that. They were little. They didn't care. I was going to put them in the little pajamas.
I made them get Halloween.
You guys know the ones. They have a cape that's Velcro. You Velcro the cape. And I go,
he was going to send the children
They'll be
in the Velcro
They don't
cape.
care. They're little. They were getting candy. Like 10 seconds after you put the costume on, they're over it anyway. The mask is off. The swords got left at home. They just want the candy.
Well,
but we didn't do it. For those of you out there like, oh my God, now we spent $35 on a costume
but I'm
they
sure
wear
at
one
that
time and then outgrow.
We went secondhand because I was all about the secondhand stores when they were little.
Best costume ever. My son wanted to be Batman. He was probably 5, 4, and 4.5, somewhere in there.
Okay. I remember this.
Our youngest son, who was a baby, we found a onesie that was Robin.
Oh,
yes, it was so good.
Cute.
Oh, Batman, Robin. And then Lily, who was going to be a princess, wanted to be Batgirl. So we had to switch her costume over because she was like, everybody's got a bat theme.
I do remember that. That was adorable.
So and guess what I was that year? Captain Jack Sparrow, because I like doing that one. And guess what you were?
Nothing.
She was mom in her street clothes. She did not dress up.
I was mom. Mom
Go
is
back
a
and
good
listen to the podcast about the themes and the whole thing. The whole thing.
Themes are fantastic.
What about Halloween? Serena comes in. Wah, wah.
Hey, I have my Superwoman shirt with the little.
You only got that because when you're working at the country club, like they are the dress up.
And now I wear it every year.
If you even wear that. I mean, you look
All
hot.
right.
In it. You look sexy in that thing.
Oh,
Put that thing
good.
on.
See, that's why I wear it.
Maybe we'll wear that sooner than Halloween.
Okay, well, we're going to end it now because people are going to throw up.
Did we just get a PG-13 rating on our
Yeah,
podcast?
probably. So you guys, check us out online. Our website, our new look on our website. Let's just say that.
Rebranding?
It's not rebranded, but
No, we
it's
have the
just
same.
updated. Is there. We've got our virtual planning. You can fly us out to plan in person. Or follow us
We just
on.
booked St. Louis. We're going to St. Louis.
We are going to St. Louis. Very excited.
And maybe Savannah.
Mm-hmm.
I like Savannah. Georgia. Do you still like our logo?
Yeah.
Because I remember we came up with it. We're like, I'm thinking the color scheme, maybe the heart thing. And then we just kind of put it together. And here we are years later. And there it is.
Yeah, and it's still there.
The wedding duo.
Cute as all.
Random things. We're getting nostalgic now.
I know. And we need to
Nostalgic.
end this because
Okay.
we're just going to keep going.
Just like anything, if you're renting stuff, find a look that fits you. Don't let somebody talk you into something you don't want to do or talk you out of something you have your heart set on. It's your day.
You do you.
But it's also your budget. So keep that in
You
mind.
do you on a budget.
We talk about budget a lot because that's a big thing. It's so easy to get these great
Truth.
ideas, but gosh, make sure you check the price tag on that stuff.
All right.
Blowing kisses.
Happy
See you
wedding
next time.
planning.
Mwah.
Mwah.
Hey, so thanks for listening to our podcast. If you found any of this information helpful and you know someone who may be engaged or is a maid of honor, maybe you could tell them and share it with a friend.
Absolutely. So screenshot this episode, share it on Instagram, on Facebook, and tag the wedding duo. We promise to share the love back. Also, if you are interested in more resources or the show notes, you can go to theweddingduo.co. We have one-on-one virtual sessions, a shop, all sorts of fun stuff. Check it out.